All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vice Forecaster USA Vice Forecaster JD Rapp with you today. I got Isaac Schaff with me, uh, USA Severe Weather Network today. Today is February 28th, 2021, and I'm taping this at 2:33 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. So we tracking the threat of severe weather. We do have a new tornado watch that goes through 10 p.m. So right now I'm going to turn things over to Isaac.
All right. So I will point out the tornado watch. This is tornado watch number 13. Um, the tornado watch 13 goes through 10 p.m. And I will point out that this pretty much includes most of the rest of Arkansas, a little bit of the Boot Heel of Missouri, much of Tennessee, and a tidbit of Southwest Kentucky. So obviously we're mostly expecting this to be a wind threat as storms congeal into like a quasi-linear convective storm mode. However, I will also point out again, there is a potential for some instances along this line. I'm trying to gain some more of this high resolution guidance here as we head into the evening hours. We're I want to again. We're mostly watching. I mean, there's the vertical shear overall is. I mean, we're moving into that environment here. See what the latest data here. I'm going to see what the mesoscale outlook here, mesoscale discussion here, briefing from the Storm Prediction Center is saying here. Looks like, I mean, the hail threat overall with some of these cells into the Arklatex area, parts of southeast Oklahoma, I mean, have produced a locally 1-inch hail. But I mean, overall, the hail threat with this particular area of storms is decreasing. So I mean, it looks like we're developing some stronger downdrafts as storms congeal into a line. So obviously, we're kind of getting into that quasi-linear convective storm mode, but there could still be some little bit of renegades that do form ahead of that. So,
And that could produce an isolated tornado.
Also, mixed layer numbers are.
And this could produce an isolated tornado threat.
Obviously, I mean, obviously, we want to watch the surface as well when you're trying to assess, in particular, the tornado risk. But when we're watching mixed layer CAPE values between 1,000, maybe locally 1,500, again, this is above the surface, not directly at the surface. I mean, this is where there's plenty of instability to work with to really get things going in terms of like all these storms that are all these cells that are developing updrafts. And I mean, there could be some instances here, maybe one locally up to 2-inch in diameter hail. But as the hail threat decreases, I mean, there will be a limited time where these storms will produce some larger hail, some of these elevated cells that you get ahead of this main line. But when the updraft weakens, then you get a stronger downdraft. And then along that, and I mean, there's also a little bit of directional wind shear. And looking at, we've looked at some of the photographs. Yeah, and again, as we get the wind threat increase, the hail threat decreases as well. I've looked at some of the velocities, and just we're getting into an environment where there's higher low level shear. So when we think of that, the wind and the tornado threat will increase. Obviously, what the Storm Prediction Center has pointed out with this tornado watch area.
I just checked the tornado threat here. It says moderate tornadoes, EF2 is low, but the wind is high. If all this was in a high mode, this would have been a PDS.
Well, I mean, if obviously if the threat of 65 plus wind or 65 knot plus wind was high, I mean, that's not what we're looking at. Again, there's a low chance there could be some instances of isolated significant gusts. We are expecting some widespread damaging winds. That's why the high mode is on there. And just
And this is
given
why
the
we're here today.
probabilities with this, I mean, yeah, sure. And again, the probability of 2 or more tornadoes within there, this is an estimate, but they're thinking that there could be probably moderate 60% chance of seeing 2 or more of those tornadoes within there. And obviously, we're not expecting really any strong tornadoes within there, but in terms of the damaging wind concern, we're likely talking the probability of 10 or more instances of severe winds. Obviously, we're pretty confident, about 80% or so as storms. Just looking at the initial radar with some of these.
Yeah, let me do a little talking here while I'm on
If
here,
you're looking
Isaac.
at like Little Rock radar, maybe.
Do a little talking here.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, we do think the tornado threat's still there, but I'm a little more concerned today of the damaging wind threat. I mean, that can cause some trouble. That trees could topple. So if you go under a severe thunderstorm warning, you still want to just move away from the windows. That's the best thing to do. We're not talking about a derecho or anything or an outbreak, but you still want to be aware of this quasi can be worse than a tornado.
Yeah, of course. So again, when we're getting into this quasi-linear convective storm mode with the latter part of this round, obviously initially, just looking at the initial radar, as we pointed out earlier, obviously we do have some clusters of cells that are forming ahead of this main line. There's still that window where there's some elevated convection, and even looking, just eastern Arkansas, even like there are some particular cells developing east of obviously from Dyersburg down to Jackson, Tennessee, east towards when we're looking at areas around Paris, we do have some thunderstorms. We do have a cluster of storms that have developed east of there right as well, and I'm going to see if.
All right, I'm looking at the wind velocity just to see if we have any new
hail as well. But again, what I'm mostly concerned about is the.
All right, we just had one report of 3.5 inches of rain that had been in Kentucky, in Cowway County, Kentucky.
Yeah, sure. And again, just this overall line of storms looks like some of these cells east of Jackson towards the Tennessee River, towards Perryville, Gorman, Camden. I'm just pointing out some of these areas and sections of West Tennessee there are producing some weaker updrafts, so maybe some small hail occurring with that. And I mean, obviously, the heaviest rain is occurring across sections of West Kentucky. I mean, we got flash flood warnings for most of these counties, stretching from Bowling Green to Hopkinsville, all the way down to south of Mayfield into areas north of Union City, Tennessee. So I mean, that's where you got some of those training storms.
Yep.
The ground's already saturated from that first
and
round of rainfall that has occurred.
Here's something else that's going to get through me.
Yesterday.
Yeah, never drive your car through a flooded roadway. Those barricades up for some reason, Isaac, not to drive through them, right?
Yeah, correct. But also what we're mostly concerned about, obviously we got these areas of thunderstorms across western and central Arkansas. These have produced hail, obviously down into the Arklatex towards Texarkana too. We got some convective development down that way as well. But yeah, I mean, really, it does appear to be producing. I think velocities we're getting there, gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour. That will be approaching Conway, Arkansas, fairly soon.
I'm just looking at things.
So I mean, Little Rock, you got. So I mean, obviously storms are. maybe within the next hour, Little Rock will be impacted by some of these strong thunderstorms. Obviously, the strongest winds now are will be approaching Conway. I'm going to put this in motion, try to factor in. I'm going to try and factor in storm motion as to. So obviously these thunderstorms, obviously the wind threat is along with some of these thunderstorms, obviously very weak, not really much upscale growth with some of those, but we got to watch the surface fairly closely as as over some increase in this level wind shear. But I'm just looking at what we got going on now. Looks like Conway area, Arkansas towards Little Rock. Looks like the next half hour, maybe a little bit more than that. But yeah, just and obviously storm motion is out of the northeast. So looks like Little Rock, you got maybe a little under an hour until this line of thunderstorms impacts you. But just now looking at some of these cells that are developing across northeast Arkansas as well. These have produced some weak updrafts further aloft. But now watching the surface there are some. I would say there's not really much occurring now in terms of. I mean, obviously there are some cells developing with some weaker updrafts. Maybe some weak low level shear.
I'll be right back, Isaac. Okay.
That is approaching Jonesboro here. Yeah, I was going to say this next cell that'll be approaching Jonesboro here within the next half hour or so. We have another cell developing southwest of there towards Searcy. Looks like there's some weak speed shear with that. Obviously, nothing tornadic right now. But it's these cells that are developing ahead of the main line that we're worried about. And obviously, there's going to be increasing mixed layer instability as this line drives towards there. And as this warm front clears sections of the Ozarks and the lower Ohio Valley, something we're going to watch out for fairly closely as well. So obviously, there will be a limited window where the tornado threat will be highest across sections of northeast Arkansas into adjacent Boot Heel, Missouri, into southern Kentucky. And obviously, as storms approach Tennessee here within the next several hours, then we're still talking about maybe a QLCS tornado threat where the atmosphere
and that's where
near the ground is slightly capped, but still looking at some of the hodograph data. Yeah, and just looking at some of the hodograph data earlier, there's some weaker directional shear, but still good amount of storm relative helicity near the ground. Obviously, nothing that is nothing appears to be favorable for like stronger tornadoes with this.
But
again,
even a small one can do damage.
Threat, with these accompanying the. Yeah, I mean, mostly concerned about the threat of straight line winds, maybe isolated gusts around 75 miles per hour, maybe
and even 75. Don't want to be in a mobile home today
with this particular line. So, well, yeah, of course, and just overall with, I mean, we could have a quasi-linear convective system, QLCS tornado threat. So generally, those will be your more spin-up tornadoes, but they could still be
rain
like this would be like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously these will be brief tornadoes, but they could still produce damage, as you point out. Maybe EF0 to EF1 damage more than likely. There's a low chance of anything EF2 or greater, according to the.
And we'll be here tracking it for you if there's anything happens
still, I think
tonight.
the velocities are steadily increasing. Yeah, there is a steady increase in low level shear with that. So something that will be monitored closely.
Anything else you're seeing? You still there?
Well, again, I just want to address again. Yeah, I am. I do want to address. Obviously, some of these storms. I mean, obviously after 10 p.m. Obviously, I think the flooding threat is still going to linger as this round kind of
Yeah.
hovers over the lower Ohio Valley into sections of Kentucky, and obviously where that warm front clears, the surface and overall instability is greatest over sections of again, just where that tornado watch is, that's where the Storm Prediction Center thinks the tornado threat and damaging wind threat will be highest. Again, where that cold front kind of converges and the boundary kind of hovers over, kind of stalls out, and then that's where again there will still be a concern for heavy rain, maybe some lingering wind concerns with some instances of damaging winds that do persist into the latter time frame where this tornado watch. And again, just there could be some tornado threats that do linger into the early nighttime hours. But I do expect
And you
that to
definitely not
mostly
want to
be a
go.
damaging wind, heavy rain, flooding
Yeah,
threat
and you
too.
want to go to
And
bed tonight. You might want to take a weather radio with you. That way, because you don't want to be in a if you go on a
well, yeah,
tornado warning
have a
day, you do
way.
not want to be in no trailer.
Yeah, of course. And again, have a way to receive audible alerts. Make sure the wireless emergency alert is turned on your phone. Turn your ringer on because you may sleep through your vibration. And
Yeah.
I've had that happen once where I slept through an Amber Alert on my phone or something like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, just have a way to be woken up because obviously sirens won't wake you up, and just be
No, I
alert
mean
to
sirens are not
conditions.
going to be good.
Heading into the overnight,
Sirens ain't
have
going to be
your
good.
tornado action plan prepared. Okay, yeah. And again, we'll be in this feed period just monitoring material heading into the evening, and feel free to reach out for concerns. And I'll share this with other folks in our member base. Try to alert your friends that maybe in the path of some of these, this wave and overall. Just to give them a heads up that storms, maybe some severe weather's heading their way. Always wise to do that.
Right now, I'm Vice Forecaster Judy. We'll continue to keep you updated through the night.